The iconic brick warehouse to our left, Utah Street right down the middle. This shot from earlier today as the skies, well, they might not have cleared, but the rain has cleared at least. The lights are on. The Mariners and the Baltimore Orioles, two first-place teams, getting set to square off in Game 1 of this 3-game series from beautiful Camden Yards. And Mike, how about we take a glance at Scott Servais' starting lineup?
Man, the Mariners offensively in the month of May really swinging the bat well. In 14 games, hitting .270 with 18 home runs. And on the road this year, averaging over 5 runs. You can see Robinson Cano, .362 average here at Camden Yards. And against Jimenez, he has a .545 batting average with a couple of home runs. The one right-handed hitter in the lineup, Chris Iannetta, hitting 7th today. Chris is 3 for 5 against Jimenez. For Jimenez, you can see 7 starts on the year, ERA just under 5 at a 4.87. In 40 2/3, he has 20 walks, 37 strikeouts. Opponents hitting .307. He's given up 5 home runs this year.
He's had a rough start to this season. His first start against the Mariners in an Orioles uniform, and he comes in low, missing with his first pitch of the night. Now the Mariners, an off day yesterday. They spent that flying here to Baltimore, got in at a very reasonable time last night. And for those of you playing along with us tonight on Twitter, first pitch time 7:07 and a very comfortable 54 degrees here from Camden Yards. He's showing bunt at ahead of the count now, 3-0.
For Jimenez on his fastball, his average fastball this year right around 90 miles an hour. He'll mix in a slider, and his best pitch is a splitter. He will throw that quite a bit when he gets 2 strikes on the hitters.
Forwards in a strike to make it 3-1. Now the Mariners coming off their first series loss in over a month, Mike, which is remarkable.
It is, and disappointing because you end up getting swept in that series loss. But I think that overall they end up 3-3 on the homestand. I think it was good that they had the day off yesterday, kind of put that behind them, get it out of their mind, and get things started here on the road.
Oakland caught looking. And the shock wearing off. There's out number 1.
Well, he didn't like the pitch, but it looked like it was at the bottom of the strike zone. We'll take a look at the defense for the Orioles. Brought to you by American Family Insurance. One of the best in center field in Adam Jones. He can go get it, but also one of the stronger throwing arms. Manny Machado moving from third base because of J.J. Hardy going on the disabled list to shortstop. Matt Wieters is one of the better defensive catchers in the league. Will be behind the plate tonight.
And you mentioned J.J. Hardy. Pretty impressive that the Orioles, one of the very best defensive teams in baseball, despite losing a Gold Glove shortstop.
Number 1. You're right. But Machado was a shortstop coming up. He had to move over to third base, so he's back at his normal position. And we've seen what kind of athlete he is, the type of arm that he has. He'll be able to handle it. Only 2 errors on the year for him.
With 1 out, Seth Smith looks at strike 1.
And the Orioles will go into the shift.
The Mariners this year have won 13 of their 19 games on the road. They have not lost a road series this season.
Probably a smart way to put the shift on right now. Machado is the only one on the left side of the infield again at the shortstop position. Giannis, who's at third, is playing over on the right side. He's out on the grass. We used to see that when Kyle Seager would go on the other side, but now Kyle will be the one left on the left side of the infield. But Machado with a lot of range and a strong throwing arm.
Two balls and a strike to Smith. For the Mariners, tonight marks their 3rd series against a team from the American League East. They've had good success in their first 2 series. Took 2 games out of 3 in the Bronx against the Yankees, and then Scott Servais at home against the Rays. The Mariners swept Tampa Bay at home. So they've won 5 out of 6 against foes from the East. Cano on deck. And back-to-back full counts for Jimenez to begin tonight's game.
Overall this year for Jimenez, he'll throw his fastball right around 60% of the time. And you look at a splitter, he'll throw it about 15% of the time until he gets 2 strikes. And that's when he's really going to throw it. It doubles from there. He ends up throwing it about 30% of the time with 2 strikes.
A 1 out walk to Smith. Mariners have their first base runner.
The opponent average and velocity for Jimenez on his different pitches. Again, his fastball right around 90 miles an hour, but the league hitting 310 off of it. And his slider at 82 miles an hour, hitting 250. His best pitch is his splitter. It's just a matter of whether he can get to it or not, because he can be wild at times. Opponents hitting 241 off the splitter.
1 out, 1 on for Robinson Cano, who just had his 13-game hitting streak snapped on Sunday. But he has pillaged the Orioles here inside Camden Yards over the course of his career. The numbers are staggering. You can see them bottom right-hand corner of your screen. 335 versus the Orioles. And even better here in Baltimore, 362 in this ballpark.
And hitting 545 off Jimenez. And
there we go, opposite way. Smith makes a turn at second base, hustles into third, gets to stop sign as Cano glides into second base with a double. The Mariners cooking right away.
So basically, Aaron, I didn't go out on a limb when I took him as my pick to click today.
That is so cheap, Mike. That's weak sauce right there. Come on.
Well, he's one of the few left-handers in the lineup where teams rarely will shift on him, and that's the reason why he uses the entire field, hitting this double right down the left field line. And here through the first month and a half of the season, probably the team's MVP, and he has consistently hit the ball hard. Off to a good start.
And Cano entering today, tied for the league lead in homers, tied for the major league lead in RBIs. And here is the former Oriole, Nelson Cruz.
Nelson on the opposite side of Cano as far as facing Jimenez. Nelson 0 for 12 in his career. Baltimore played their infield back, so a ground ball will pick up a run.
1-1. And of course, Nelly, a fantastic season in 2014 here with the Orioles. Hit .271, led baseball with 40 bombs that season, was an all-star. And Cruz ahead of the count. And he was absolutely and still is beloved by the people here in Baltimore. You get the sense, and especially Buck Showalter and the guys inside the Orioles dugout. The opposite way, the Mariners take an early lead. Smith comes in. Here comes Cano, getting waved in by Manny Acta. There's the first hit against Jimenez for Nelson Cruz, and it drives in a couple. The Mariners leading things 2-0.
Nelson picking up a couple of RBIs. He now has 23 on the season, and a great start for the Mariners. Been a little bit of an issue for the starters with Baltimore early in the ball game, giving up runs, and that's exactly the way this happens. Fastball right in the middle of the plate, and Nelson hitting it the other way, as Cano did. That'll be part of the game plan. Edgar Martinez and the guys working together.
One out and already 2 in. Here is Kyle Seager. Nice start for Cano and Cruz. And it gets underneath Davis. Nelly easily into second base. Well off the mark there from Jimenez.
Yeah, that'll be an E1, throwing it right back into the runner, which was Nelson Cruz. Tough to get around Nelson. Jimenez putting his first baseman, Chris Davis, in a tough spot. But Nelson will move up, get himself into scoring position. Talking about the walks with Jimenez, and it's great if he's going to walk guys, but you have to take advantage of that. And so it's good to see Seth Smith walking and end up scoring. You'd like to see that for as long as Jimenez is out there. If he's going to help you out, take advantage of it.
Now he has at least 4 walks in over half of his starts this year. Already 1 today, as this gets away from Wieters. And that single from Cruz is looking more like a triple all of a sudden.
And a great opportunity for Kyle Seager to pick up an RBI. We just mentioned that Cruz with 23 now after that base hit to drive into Kyle with 21 RBIs on the year. Opponent's average in slugging against his fastball, and you can look at the numbers already. A couple of base hits, one an extra base hit by Cano on the fastball. Slugging .550. Again, the batting average at .350. You can see his splitter, though. He has not given up an extra base hit on the split finger.
1-1 to Seager. And keep in mind, as we see that wild pitch just a moment ago, this is the first time now in 8 starts that Jimenez is working with Matt Wieters behind the plate.
Which is amazing, isn't it? Wieters their #1 catcher.
2-1. No, that was very surprising. Two balls and 2 strikes. Seager swinging a hot bat right now. Hits in 14 of his last 17. You can see what Seager's done in this situation. Runner at third base, less than 2 outs. Mariners already have 2 runs in here in the top of the first. It has been Caleb Joseph to catch Jimenez so far this year. In fact, Joseph has only played in 16 games, and 7 of them have come when Jimenez has been up on the mound. So there has been an element of a personal catcher in regards to Jimenez this season. Now 32 years old, out of the Dominican Republic, and he's been backed in the corner early on here tonight.
And he's having to throw a lot of pitches, 24 pitches in the inning.
And that has been such a trend so far this season, Mike.
Well, especially over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Been a number of times that they've been able to get to the starter's pitch count in either the first or second inning.
You see Caleb Joseph, they're not used to crushing the seeds when Jimenez is up on the mound like he is tonight. Full count to Seager. Lind on deck. This lineup littered with left-handed hitters tonight facing Jimenez, and for good reason. Cruz is the man at third base. And another walk. That's the second already from Jimenez tonight. Mariners now have him on the corners. And a very early visit from Dave Wallace, the pitching coach for the Orioles. If you go back to the start of the 2014 season, no pitcher in the American League has walked more hitters than Ubaldo Jimenez. He's got 6 more than Chris Archer, who's next on the list.
Well, you look at his splits right now, 26 pitches, 12 strikes, 14 balls. That is not good. And I think that the other thing we were talking about it with his pitch count, when you're at the start of the series, the first game of the series, if you can run the starting pitcher early in the ball game and get into the bullpen. Now, Baltimore's bullpen is a quality bullpen. It'll be difficult for the hitters, but it sets you up for the rest of the series. Hopefully by game 3 the bullpen is used up and maybe you can get some sort of advantage.
So the Mariners in business, 1-out runners on the corners for Adam Lind.
There you go. Let's go, Ubaldo.
And we saw a monster night from Lind in the middle game of that series against the Angels back at home. Entered that game with 5 RBIs. He finished the night with 9 on the season. And he's behind 0-2. Cruz at third, Seager at first. And 3 pitches to Lind, all strikes.
Yeah, it looked like a pretty good fastball that he swings through, able to throw it by him. Talked about the numbers the left-handers have done against Jimenez. Really handled him well. One right-hander in the lineup, and it's this man, Chris Iannetta. Iannetta, 5 at-bats against Jimenez, 3 hits.
This will be pitch number 30 for Jimenez. Well, the Mariners had entered today having been held scoreless over their last 10 innings. They're coming off their second shutout loss of the season, but too early in the bank here tonight in the first, with Cruz the man at third base and Seager, who drew ball 4 at first. And now Iannetta behind the count. Well, Scott Servais certainly wanted to be greedy here in the first inning against Jimenez. Over 30 pitches. Still a ball and 2 strikes. As we see the curve of that time from Jimenez. Not a pitch that he throws a whole lot, Mike, but no extra base hits for Jimenez on the curveball, but it has been hit overall pretty well.
.429 batting average against his curveball. Probably throw it maybe 6 times over the course of the game.
So 5 left. And Iannetta down swinging. So Jimenez ends up striking out the side. He leaves runners on the corners. The Mariners have given Wade Miley an early 2-0 lead. Now some Mariners fans here around Camden Yards wearing it well. Some Seager believers here from Baltimore as the Mariners and the Orioles just underway in the first of this 3-game series. And how about a look at Buck Showalter's starting lineup, Mike?
Again, a club that leads the league in home runs, and you have to look at Machado and Jones at the top of the lineup. Both of them a lot of success against Miley. Machado .429 with a home run, Jones .333 with a home run. Mark Trumbo, the former Mariner, .307 with 11 home runs, tied for 3rd in the American League. Nolan Reinhold hitting 8th in the lineup. He is 1 for 3 with a home run off of Miley.
It's Joey Rickard, the Rule 5 pick from Tampa Bay, who looks and strike one. Lead things on for the Orioles tonight.
For Wade Miley in his last 3 outings, he's really pitched well overall this year. 3-2 record, a .491 ERA in 44 innings. He has 34 strikeouts, just 9 walks. Opponents hitting .274.
A peel down to the check swing, it does not go.
I think for Miley in this evening's game, he's going to pitch inside to the right-handers. He likes to do that anyway, but maybe even a little bit more so that he can get to the good changeup. See the slider quite a bit too.
This seems to be one of those ballparks that an opposing pitcher who hasn't had many starts here, and Miley, even though he pitched for the Red Sox last season, only had 2 starts against the Orioles, one of them here. This is a ballpark that right field fence is so tempting, especially for a pull-happy left-handed hitter, and it can be a huge problem spot if you're not used to pitching with it.
Well, you're right about that, and also the left center field gap. It's only .364 in the left center here, .333 down the line, .410 dead to center, but in that gap it goes straight across, and it's easy for a right-hander to get to as Miley starts off with a walk. And that's why I think the one thing that he has going for him is that he's pitched at Fenway Park against the line that's loaded with right-handers in that wall, and knowing what to do as you take a look at the dimensions. You can see left center field. That's the one I was looking at, the .364. Only .318 down the line where Aaron was talking about the wall out there, a 21-foot wall, but you pitch inside so that you can get them out with your off-speed pitches away. So many times pitchers will get into this type of ballpark and they want to pitch away, and eventually they'll elevate or they'll fall behind. They start walking guys and getting themselves into trouble.
Leadoff man aboard with ball 4 as Machado looks at a pitch outside. Manny Machado, the American League Player of the Month for April, off to a fantastic start this season. And this start tonight for Miley, an interesting one, although not a unique one for Miley this year. He's pitching on 6 days rest, and he's had multiple starts this year, Mike, pitching on extended rest, and it's kind of always the issue. How does the starter want to deal with a couple of extra days of downtime between starts?
As far as their bullpen goes, yeah, they have different things that they like to do, and I think it's an individual thing. Sometimes they'll throw a couple of times, sometimes they'll have one lengthy bullpen, if you will. That's kind of what Miley likes to do. I wonder sometimes when you're a pitcher like Miley, fastball 90, 91 miles an hour, and he's a command type pitcher, if that extra day hurts him a little bit more. Feels too good, overthrow a little bit, not necessarily hitting your spots.
He's ahead of Machado, 1-2. Rickard at first base with the leadoff walk. Miley has been in a real nice groove his last 4 starts. An ERA just a little bit above 3. He's got fewer hits plus walks than innings pitched, and the Mariners 4-0 in Miley's last 4 starts. You can see the damage that Machado and Trumbo have done so far this year. 2 of the top home run hitters in the league. Soft pop up, and Cano lines over for out number 1.
We'll take a look at the defense for Baltimore. Defensive setup brought to you by American Family Insurance. And for the Mariners tonight, Martin back in center field. Had yesterday off, back in center field today. And you want to limit the walks, but you also want to limit the errors. And good news for the Mariners, they have Kyle Seager, the Gold Glover, at third, and Robinson Cano has really played well out at second base.
No surprise there. 1 out, 1 on. Bottom of the first inning for Adam Jones. Jones got off to a dreadful start this year. His first 24 games he was hitting beneath 200, but he's turned it on lately. Now an 8-game hitting streak, 15 hits in his last 8 games, and we just saw the home run leaders in the American League. Jones, if he was swinging like he is now back in the month of April, he would be on that list. He's homered 4 times in his last 6 games. It was really surprising to see that Miley had only made 2 starts against the Orioles last year as a member of the Red Sox. Both, of course, the Red Sox and the Orioles in the same division. He had 1 start against Baltimore years ago in interleague play when he was with the Diamondbacks. So this not quite as familiar of an opponent on either side as you might initially think. But he was roughed up last year against Baltimore, 0-2. An ERA over 10, which of course those numbers can get awfully lofty if you're just talking about 2 starts. Hoping to turn those numbers around here tonight. Ties up Jones to make it 2-2.
Good fastball right at the bottom of the strike zone. Inner third.
Keeping an eye on Rickard, who reached on a leadoff walk. Double play ball sends this to the second. Instead of smash out to center, Martin showing his numbers, able to slow down for round number 2.
Pretty good fastball in the inside corner. We'll take a look at the average of velocity for Miley this year on his slider. 229 average, right around 84 miles an hour. We talked about his fastball at 90, opponents hitting 273. His changeup, I think that's the pitch that he really needs to use today. Opponents hitting 300, changeup will be at 82 miles an hour, and also mix in a curveball. Changeup is one of the pitches that saw the 300 average. That's the pitch that was getting hit early in the season when he was struggling. Been better with it as of late. Pretty good curveball right there for a strike.
And we really saw a pretty clean line between his first 3 starts and his next 3 starts this year. Now facing Chris Davis, 2 outs and a runner at first base. Mariners got off to a hot start offensively for Miley. A 2-run single by Cruz in the top of this first inning. Davis looks at a strike. Another good looking curve, 1-2. Davis, a free agent over the winter, re-signing with Baltimore. He was traded here from Texas years ago. Boy, 2-2. Full count now, boys. Some really borderline pitches.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is the home plate umpire Jerry Davis today. That makes a difference for you because right now Miley wants to pitch down in the zone. That's how you keep a club in the ballpark, and a couple of borderline pitches not getting the call on either one.
Davis about as experienced of an umpire as the game has. This is 33rd year. Curveball misses. A 2-out walk. Both base runners for the Orioles tonight with a walk. A leadoff walk and now a 2-out walk.
And we were talking about Jimenez and his pitch count. 22 pitches so far for Miley here in the first. Opponent's batting average against Miley this year with the bases empty, not bad, 245. Runners on at 328, so runners in scoring position 357. So it's been these situations. Talk about his ERA a lot. These are the situations that have hurt him, giving up too many hits with runners in scoring position.
Mark Trumbo fouls the first pitch back. Now, Trumbo was not a Mariner for very long, but about as pleasant of a guy as there is in the game. Happy to see Mark having success. Oh, 2. Trumbo was the Mariner when Scott Servais was hired as the Mariners' new manager, but of course was traded away over the winter. Steve Clevenger coming over to the Seattle Mariners in return. And Trumbo off to a monster start, hitting over 300, 11 bombs.
We talked about Baltimore and their offense, second in hitting, third in runs scored, first in home runs. Well, runners in scoring position, they're hitting 295 as a team.
This series seems like the classic one side's got to give. The Mariners, one of the best pitching teams in the league. The Orioles, one of the best hitting teams in the league. 2 outs and 2 on. And the 1-2 to Trumbo.
Well, listening to that, Aaron, if you want my vote, I'll go on the pitching side of things. How about that?
We're counting them up. Mariners' second best ERA in the American League. Orioles second best batting average. And it doesn't end there.
Well, Baltimore third in ERA, primarily because of the work of the guys out in the bullpen. They had some issues with their starters, including the one that's starting for him tonight, Jimenez.
And that bullpen, at least in terms of ERA, has been the best. 2 outs. Rickard at second. He drew a walk. Davis drew a walk as well. He is at first base. Bounces in there as Iannetta will watch Rickard take third.
Move up on the wild pitch.
Only the second wild pitch this season for Miley.
After getting quickly ahead 0-2, he's trying to get Trumbo to chase something down out of the strike zone. The problem is the pitches are bouncing out in front of the plate when he wants them really to bounce probably on top of the plate. Now he works his way back to a 3-2 count.
Now Trumbo, the 5th hitter that Miley is facing here in the first inning. He has run a full count to 3 of the first 5.
With a change up on the outside corner. Trumbo barely getting a piece of it.
Now Jimenez threw 34 pitches in the top of the first. Miley, this will be number 29.
I think one of the things that you have to remember is he doesn't necessarily have to give in to Trumbo. Talked about his numbers and the power he's shown this year. The runner is taking off on the pitch. If he loses them and walks him, I know you've walked 3 in the inning, but may as well start over with a new hitter waiting on deck and Wieters, who hitting just 229 on the year.
Pretty stark contrast. Trumbo. One hop to the belly of Marte, and a strong throw will end the threat from the Orioles. They strand runners on the corners. We are through an inning. Miley unscathed. Babe Ruth. This is his birthplace right here in Baltimore. His house not far from the ballpark. Mariners leading things 2-0. Seattle Mariners baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by your local Ford stores. By Safeco Insurance. Find a local agent at safeco.com. And by the Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest. Visit emeraldqueen.com. Look at the Babe Ruth Museum. And Mike, I would say that that is just simply nothing more than a Mike Flowers 9-iron away from Camden Yards. Fair to say?
Probably close, yeah. I would say that's about right.
Not far at all as Marte leads things off. Cattell entering tonight, batting .281 on the year. He's had some times this year where he's cleaned up RBIs in bunches. As he's out on 3 pitches. Now to Davis at first.
I'd like to see the Mariners add to that pitch count in this inning if they can. 34 pitches in the first for Jimenez. Put some base runners on. Again, his ERA just under 5 this year. Put some pressure on him.
You look at his last start Thursday against the Tigers. Jimenez, that is. Went 5 innings, gave up 5 runs. 4 of those were earned. As Martine eyes a strike. He had to face 13 base runners in 5 innings. 9 hits, 4 walks. 0-2 on Martine.
Right now, Aaron, I think this is the guy that they really need to get going again. Martine brings so much to this club defensively in the way that he can run the bases, but you have to be able to get to first base, and so it's about time for him to start moving forward again. His batting average coming into the inning right at 200. But he brings so much to this club when he's on the bases, causing problems. So hopefully he's working his way out of whatever his struggles have been.
No, you're right. 7 steals and 9 tries for Martin. And over the course of his career, dating back to his time with Texas, he's been at the top of the order. He has been at the bottom of the order so far in a Mariners uniform. And when you can recycle from top to bottom or bottom to top with that speed, especially when you got Marte and Martin stacked up against each other, and start putting those guys on base for the big bats coming up at the top, that is when you get a lot of runs going.
Yeah, it's just added production from the bottom of your lineup.
Davis busy early on here in the top of the 2nd. Another ground ball out his way. Well, come watch Kyle Seager and Robinson Cano hit bombs into the outfield seats while wearing your new Mariners bomber hat. They're free to the first 15,000 fans on Friday, May 27th, when the Mariners meet up against the Twins at 7:10. Just go to mariners.com for tickets. An unexpected jersey hat combination, to say the least. A threat of rain. First pitch, Aoki. Into left field. This has been a quick and tidy 1-2-3, top of the 2nd for Jimenez after nearly 35 pitches in the first. First, that's given the Mariners a 2-0 lead. As you see Taijuan Walker there, we'll take a look at our Quicken Loans Rocket Arms feature. What a pitching matchup we will be in store for tomorrow, Mike. Taijuan Walker versus Chris Tillman, and both of these guys are in a groove right now.
And the possibility to see a lot of strikeouts tomorrow. You can see the strikeouts per 9 inning, averaging 1 an inning, 1+.
That'll be a good one tomorrow. We will hit the air at 3:30 Pacific time. First pitch strike to Matt Wieters, the catcher for the Orioles. Drafted 5th overall back in 2007, the year David Price was taken #1 overall. And we saw both starters labor in the first. For Jimenez, 34 pitches. Mike, for Miley, 30. Jimenez was able to use just 10 pitches to retire the side in order, and Miley would like to mimic that as best as possible.
Well, you would hope so. Routine fly ball out to center. But sometimes the first inning can be the most difficult. Fortunately, both of them throwing 30, 34 pitches, but the Mariners have the 2 runs on the scoreboard, and now you'd like to see them settle in. They'll get off the field, work your way out of trouble as Miley had to, then hopefully settle down, throw some quality strikes, have a couple of quick innings along the way.
Miley was able to strand runners on the corners in the first inning. Now facing second baseman Jonathan Scope. You can see the numbers there a moment ago on Scope. Not a household name back home, but he's got 6 home runs on the season, batting just under .270 on the year. Off the right lip of the mound, Marte making Cano, pardon me, over, getting away from the shift, and there is out number 2. Little ground to cover. So 2 up, 2 down quickly, exactly what Miley was hoping for. Now looking at Nolan Reimel. 6 pitches to get the first 2 outs. Right to Marte. 7 pitches for Miley, exactly what he was hoping for. A 1-2-3. Bottom of the second. Mariners holding on to a 2-0 lead. Oh, that's what we hear, Jen. Back home it has been beautiful, but we have battled the rain here in Baltimore, and thankfully, baseball has been played on time here so far. 1-1 the count to Smith. The skies have suddenly cleared. We are having some sunlight all of a sudden. Been nothing but gray clouds and drizzle all day long. Take a look at the iconic warehouse across Utah Street with the bank of lights on it. Unique setup here at Camden Yards. Smith walked back in the first. He came around to score on the 2-run single by Cruz. And Smith down swinging. 4th strikeout for Jimenez. Well, time now for our Geico This Date in Big League History. We're talking super slams here today. A walk-off grand slam when trailing by 3 runs. It was Chris Hoyles who hit the 8th super slam in American League history to defeat the Mariners 14-13 right here, Camden Yards, Oriole Park, on this date back in 1996. That game took 4 hours and 20 minutes at the time. 1 minute shy of the American League record.
4 9-inning game.
Yes.
Yeah. 14-13.
We don't need to ask why. Cano doubled on the second pitch of his first at bat. The opposite way. He sends this the opposite way, but right to Reimel. Round number 2.
Everything's on the barrel with Robinson Cano. Even when he's making his outs, typically he's hitting the ball hard, and unfortunately that one right at the left fielder.
I suppose if you're not going as well as Cano is right now, if you barrel a pitch up like that, even if you fly out to left field, you take a mental inventory of those as miniature wins or victories, even if you're not getting your hits. But when you're swinging the bat as well as Robbie has, that might not be quite at the forefront of your mind.
No, he feels good about where he's at in the batter's box. It was just bad luck, and that's the way he looks at it. If you're struggling a little bit, you think, okay, that's closer to where I want to be. If you've been struggling for a while, you're upset that you did barrel one up and it didn't find outfield grass somewhere. So it just kind of depends
where you are.
Yeah, where the struggle really is. Take a look at Edgar Martinez. Guys ended up having to take batting practice in the tunnel, so the cage is down below. Had the field covered.
Ball to 2 strikes on Cruz.
We talked about the splitter for Jimenez and when he uses it. And when he's behind the count, you rarely see it. He'll throw his fastball more times than out. Ahead in the count, 25%. 2 strikes, 31%. So good chance that that'll be in the back of the minds of the hitters when they fall behind.
The splitters can vary in velocity like any other pitch. It seems like Tanaka with the Yankees, his is more around 85 or so, but Jimenez seems like it's kind of more around Iwakuma's range, that 80, Iwakuma 83, 82, but he's more around 84.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think you can have different separation as far as the speed off of your fastball.
Another walk to third, and this one with 2 outs.
I find it interesting, Aaron. Well, you and I today sitting here talking about the game and going over stuff and just all the different data that is out there for the players to look at. For me, I would think that's just a huge advantage. And I know that the pitchers have, the same sort of things against the hitters, but just going into a ball game, having a better idea, I think putting things in your favor in certain counts when they like to throw certain pitches.
Casey Candell, the Mariners' first base coach, was roaming the clubhouse today, handing out those spreadsheets.
Yeah.
And in typical Casey fashion, he handed the data to Sean O'Malley. He said, "Read it and shred it." Don't let anybody else see that. Proprietary knowledge. Soft fly ball into left field. Seager is out, number 3. Cruz is stranded. And both starting pitchers have seemed to settle in nicely. 2-0 as we go to the bottom of the 3rd. Seattle Mariners baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by Safeco Insurance. Find a local agent at safeco.com. Buy steel to find your local steel dealer. Visit steeldealer.com. And by BNSF Railway, sponsor of the BNSF Blast. First pitch strike from Miley facing Paul Janisch, the number 9 hitting third baseman. Miley just 7 pitches to face the minimum in the second after throwing 30 pitches to get out of the first. Well, just like the Mariners, the Orioles were off yesterday. A loss on Sunday to the Tigers. That snapped what was their second 7-game winning streak of the season. As Miley gets ahead 1-2. Orioles opened up this year winning their first 7 games. Talk about a hot start. Mike, you were saying this at the very top of the broadcast as we see Buck Showalter and all the success that he has had wearing the orange and black for the Orioles. But this has got to be the most complete team the Mariners have faced to this date in the season.
And that's without J.J. Hardy in the lineup. I think it is true. When you look at where they stand offensively, defensively, again, the best defensive club. I doubt that they lose anything defensively with Machado going to shortstop. They certainly lose some with him not being at third. And the way that their bullpen can pitch, I think so. Now they do have some weaknesses in their starting rotation, but I think that for the Mariners, this is going to be a good test, especially in this ballpark, because the Orioles play so well here. And you hope you run into them in the postseason since they're in first place in the East.
Orioles 16 wins here at home. They're 16-6. That's the most home wins by any team in baseball. First pitch strike to Rickard, the leadoff hitter. Martinez had a pretty busy start to this night, but it'll go to Smith as he coasts over and makes the catch for out number 2. 2 up, 2 down. Follow Mariners baseball live with the MLB.com at-bat app. Stay up to the moment with game day, live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at-bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone or tablet. Must be a Wade Miley fan. You know, Wade, who is, what a character in a very good way, is from Louisiana. Laranger, Louisiana, pardon me. His family is still there. And Bob Nightingale, who wrote a nice piece today about the Mariners' hot start in USA Today, was interviewing Wade, and he asked Wade, have your family, has your parents come up to watch you pitch? Oh, no, that's way too long of a flight for them. To the Mileys, we hope you're watching us on MLB.TV tonight.
He has a good time, doesn't he?
Oh, he does. He said that this is the most fun he's ever had, and Nightingale said, ever? And he said, well, maybe since I was 12. Well, maybe since I was in college. Still having a good time. The 0-2 to Machado. Appeal. It's ball 1.
Good fastball in off the plate. I like that pitch. I think it opens it up for his changeup or even his slider that he likes to throw at the back foot. Typically try to throw it right about there. Blocked by Iannetta.
What do you mean when you say opens it up?
Well, because what he's doing is one, as a hitter, your eyes pick up that velocity and you see it inside, and so you feel that if you get uncomfortable, you'll have to rush to it. And because of the lack of speed on the changeup and it being down, typically you can get him to swing over the top of it because they're in a hurry.
Easy catch for Cano as Miley has now sat down the last 7 hitters in a row. No, he's cooking. You're right. Absolutely, Jen. Thank you. As we start at the top of the fourth. Adam Lynn facing Jimenez. Goes after the first pitch. A squibber out to Scope. Round number one. Now both these starting pitchers have settled in nicely after throwing at least 30 pitches on each side of the first inning. And Jimenez would like a new baseball. Miley has sat down the last 7 in a row. One out, nobody on for Chris Iannetta.
One of the other things that we have seen, I've certainly noticed this year, Aaron, with Miley, is every time we take a shot, whether it's on a day that he is pitching or a day that he is not, you can see him always talking pitching. Whether it's with Felix or anybody else in the rotation, he's constantly talking about. He's talking to Mel Stottlemyre, pitching coach now, and I think there's a huge benefit to that. Sharing information, how guys reacted to certain pitches, what the counts were.
You know, there's nothing. I have nothing scientific or concrete to back this up, but as we spend time around, of course, all the teams in the American League each and every year, and a handful each season in the National League with interleague play, and you just kind of, if you're in the opposing clubhouse enough and around their dugout during batting practice, you just kind of get the sense that the best teams are the ones that love to talk baseball. Now, that's not always the case, but a lot of times when you see teams that are a little more isolated and you don't see as much chatter, I don't know, Mike, maybe I don't want to blow it too much out of proportion, which might be easy to do, but that seems to be an ingredient for a winning team, or the teams that just they can't get enough baseball talk.
It was exactly that on the teams that I played on that were winning teams. And I think the other part about it is
opposite field lift. And a nice extension catch. Rickard able to track it down. Iannetta is out number 2. And we take a look at our Jimmy John's delivery of the game. Nelson Cruz put in 2 runs across the plate.
it was good to see in the first inning. Nelson had not had a hit off of Jimenez in his career. He was actually 0 for 12, but he picks up a base hit to drive in a couple of runs and gives the Mariners an early lead. A little breathing room for Wade Miley. So a big base hit for Nelson Cruz. 23 RBIs now. But I think it's so important, and even after the game, as you're sitting in the clubhouse, to talk about that game, win or lose, what happened, where are you at, especially the guys that maybe are struggling.
I would think if you're struggling, that's the best type of person to be in that, to soak up that environment.
Yeah, and I think that if you're one of the veteran guys, if you're Cano or you're Cruz, maybe they'll even come by and talk to you about something that they're seeing. I always felt that I wanted to leave the ballpark that night, especially if I was struggling, with an idea of what I wanted to try to do the following day. And conversation is a good way to go about it.
Simply to have a game plan, it sounds like.
To have a game plan, and when you show up for your early work, your early batting practice, there's something that maybe it's just one thing, hopefully it's just one thing, and you just can start working on that right away.
Soft ground ball, once again a Scope. Little quarterback option over to first base, and Marte is out number 3. Side retired in order. Look down Utah Street. Beautiful night it's turned out to be here in Baltimore. Seattle Mariners baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by Honda. Start something special with the great deal on a Honda. And by Snoqualmie Casino, Seattle's closest. Snoqualmie Casino. Beautiful look at the Inner Harbor on a very pleasant night. A dry night, that's what's most important here from Baltimore. Tonight we kick off the first of this 3-game series against the Orioles. A couple of first-place teams going at it. Both teams tied for the top spot in their respective division. Orioles tied with the Red Sox for the top spot in the East. Mariners tied with Texas for first place in the West. Adam Jones goes up after the first pitch for strike one.
Adam flew out to center field his first time up. Wade was able to jam him just enough. The fly ball out to center.
Jones an all-star in each of the last 4 years. Has been a mainstay in center field here for the Orioles. And Miley ahead 1-2.
After he was able to get through the first inning, he really has had a good feel for his changeup. That last pitch, a changeup again. Good job keeping it down in the zone.
Yanks his foul. Looked like he even took something a little bit more off of that last changeup.
It was at 80 miles an hour.
Oh my gosh, the beard hat, Mike. It is here. It's here in Baltimore.
So you're right, Aaron. His average changeup's about 82. Cool tonight. I think that it's appropriate.
Oh, we saw an Uncle Sam hat earlier. We're trending in the right way. There we go. But pretty soon we're going to have a split screen going on here. Mariners fans decked out. Two balls and 2 strikes as we take a look at where Miley's punch-outs come from this year, Mike.
And the majority of them with his fastball. Here's a ground ball percentage on the fastball. You can see 47% on his fastball. He gets some pretty good sink to it. You see the slider typically is because of where he throws it down and in.
Count stays at 2-2. Jones putting up a little bit of a pesky fight here to begin the bottom of the 4th. This will be at least an 8-pitch at bat. Miley has thrown as many pitches to Adam Jones in this at bat as he threw in all of the 2nd inning. Smith tracking it, moving quickly, and he's able to reach behind him and make the catch. Well, sometimes Seth Smith is just too fast. There's out number 1.
When you're in the outfield and Adam Jones hits the ball in the air, your first reaction is to go back a little bit. You have to respect the power of him, but he's able to make up for it, run it down.
One out now facing Chris Davis. Really slows it down to 75 for strike 1.
Mariners defense in the shift with Davis hitting.
Same pitch into the shift. Easy play for Cano. 2 outs.
A couple of slow curveballs. That last one at 74.
Now Davis held hitless so far tonight. That seems like a recipe for success against the Orioles.
Main thing is to keep him in the ballpark and have him hit it on the ground, which was nice to see on that last curveball at 74.
Yeah, you're right. Trumbo with 2 outs. For Miley, tonight is his 5th start on the road. He's had just 3 at home. We were talking about how the schedule has been where Miley has had some extended rest, like entering tonight 6 days rest for Miley, but the schedule has also been a little quirky where he's just been away from Safeco Field more than he has been on the Safeco Field mound. And he falls behind here 3-0. Wieters would be next. Outside edge, 3-1. Battles back to make it a full count on what should have been ball 4.
And the fans letting them know about a change up down out of the strike zone at 83.
Still a full count. You can see the numbers for Trumbo with a full count as he lifts his high to left field, but very playable for Aoki. Waits a long while, and there is out number 3. So with that, Miley has sat down the last 10 in a row. We go to the 5th. Mariners on top 2-0. Here from Baltimore, look outside Camden Yards. Mariners leading things 2-0. As time now for greater coverage of baseball, brought to you by T-Mobile. A look at where the division leaders in the American League are today versus where they were, Mike, at this time a season ago. You can see the Orioles in last place, and this a little jumbled because there's only one team with a full holds on the top spot of their division. That is the White Sox. The East and the West, top spot shared. Red Sox and Orioles, Mariners and Rangers, but you can see it's not a repeat exactly of where we were a year ago.
No, and it's interesting because you want to just stick with these two clubs. Baltimore, we showed those numbers and how well they've done this year. Basically the same team that they were last year, where the Mariners have had quite a few changes.
Two balls and one strike to Martin, leading off the top of the 5th. We have seen 3 walks already tonight from Jimenez. And he's got a 3-1 count to Martin. Mariners playing the opening game of the series here tonight, the first of 3 against the Orioles. They have not lost a road series this season. A cue ball to Machado. Now number 1. Now buckle up, and you are twice as likely to survive a crash. Please click it or ticket. Let's reach our target 0 goal together. 0 traffic deaths in your family, 0 traffic deaths in our state. Both Mariners runs coming on a 2-run single by Nelson Cruz in the first inning. Jimenez has sent down the last 5 Mariners hitters that he's faced. Now to the top of the order again, and a first pitch strike to Aoki. Well, Mike, as we've talked about, the field was covered. There was no batting practice on the field for either side today. They were able to get the tarp off, the field chalked in time for a regularly scheduled first pitch tonight. So that's the good news. But it seems as though if you're not going to have batting practice on the field and you're in the cage as a result, it seems like there's more to it than just having to hit in the cage and the ramifications of that.
Well, it is, and I think if you look at most Sunday day games, teams are going to hit in the cages. I think where the difference is hitting on the field when you're in the ballpark for the first time. So for Baltimore, it's really not a big deal. It's something that they know their own ballpark. But for the Mariners, there's a number of different things. One, what's the backdrop look like? You get an idea if you take batting practice on the field. Where's the ball carrying? Is the infield fast or not? And then if whatever position you're playing, you want to play or get a chance to practice during batting practice to see what it's all about.
Giannis tries to knock it down. Will have to field it after a little bit of a stroll as Aoki is aboard a 1-out single.
I know for myself, playing third base, I'd want to have to go out and have that time to roll the ball down the line a few times, see if it's going to stay fair or foul. How it's going to react might be an idea of whether or not, as you see this base hit, diving effort by Giannis right off the lip of the grass right there. Or watching the outfielders, how fast is the outfield once the ball gets out there? Depends on your angles, right? If you're going to be able to cut it off or not. There's a lot that goes into it, and I think it's a disadvantage, especially the first and only time you're going to be in that ballpark if it's the first game of the series.
1 out, 1 on for Seth Smith. Yeah, to take that a step further, it's less of a surprise if the Mariners tonight are in, you name it, Anaheim or Oakland or Texas, but a ballpark that they haven't been to since last season.
Right, because they're there so much.
Right.
Or even here, there's some angles to the outfield walls, and if you're playing right field as Seth is, they probably would have hit the ball off the wall a number of times during batting practice to see how it would react. Might be the difference of a base. Sure. Turn into a run. You never know.
Aoki reaching on the infield single, 1 out. For the Mariners, that was their first hit against Jimenez since the Cruz 2-run single in the first. Every base runner since then has come on a walk. There's only been 2. Well, upstairs, 1-2. It will be interesting to see if the Mariners try to run tonight on Jimenez. He's allowed 7 steals against him in as many starts this season. He has given up about as many steals as anybody in the league. He is right there at the top of the leaderboard in that category. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Seth Smith, looking for his first hit tonight. Walk and a run scored in the first. Julio Cruz was in spring training this year, Mike, and was really helping out Mariners base stealers for a few days. And Aoki tracked down Cruiser in the clubhouse the other day when Julio was at the ballpark, and Nori was asking Julio about his lack of success this year stealing bases. There it goes. And one of the things that Julio said that he passed along to Nori was to just simply take a larger lead at first base, because in Julio's eyes, He said that the amount that he is being thrown out at second base is about the amount of just a slightly longer lead at first base would be.
Yeah, probably not even an extra half a step when he takes his lead. I've talked to Julio a number of times, and he does a great job, whether he's watching video with them or just giving them some suggestions. And if you get out there far enough, one of the things with Aoki that we've seen this year is he has that jab set, trying to get such a good jump. If you get the lead out there, then you don't feel that you have to go as quickly, and it's probably less likely that you're going to get picked off as often.
Full count to Seth Smith. Aoki takes off for second, ball 4. Fourth walk for Jimenez. He does that yet again. That has been a trend for Jimenez this season. 4 walks in a start. He walks Smith for the second time. Salute to Kids Night is set for Saturday, May 28th. The Mariners and Boeing are celebrating our youngest fans by giving away free Robinson Cano t-shirts to all kids 14 and under. Pick up tickets for the entire family at Mariners.com.
Mariners 1 for 3 runners in scoring position. It was the base hit by Cruz in the first. Cano with a base hit, had a double in the first inning, and also lined out to the left fielder. So he's hit the ball hard a couple of times tonight.
Now Jimenez, who entered tonight having been just battered on the season over 7 starts by left-handed hitting. In fact, left-handed bats with an OPS over 1,000 against Jimenez has by and large limited this plethora of left-handed hitters for the Mariners as Cano picks up his second hit. Aoki making the turn. He scores on his feet, and the Mariners take a 3-0 lead in the top of the 5th. We were saying something about left-handed hitters.
And another base hit for the left-handed hitter. Mariners now 2 for 4. And with that base hit, Nelson Cruz stepping in, trying to add to his night. Already a couple of RBIs.
Two on, 1 out for Nelson. And you know, to be fair, talking about Jimenez versus left-handed bats tonight, he's walked a lot of them. We mentioned 4 walks, and those walks have gone to left-handed hitters. We've seen Seager draw a walk, Smith twice, Cano a couple of hits. Hard hit smash left field. Smith puts on the gas, makes a turn around third. Cano gets the stop sign at third base. Another run in for the Mariners. Nelson Cruz, his 3rd RBI, and the Mariners now lead it 4-0 to the 5th inning. Now Cruz has reached in all 3 times at the plate.
So he's going to get a fastball on the inside corner. That's exactly what it is, a 2-seamer, trying to run it in on his hands, but he's able to get the barrel to it and hit it hard into left field. And Buck Showalter quickly out of the dugout. He's going to make a pitching change.
Now the Mariners have had a knack for knocking out starting pitchers early, and that's exactly what happens here tonight. The Mariners, with 1 out and runners on the corners in the top of the 5th, have taken a 4-0 lead. Link, what's next? Taijuan Walker coming off a 9 strikeout performance against Tampa Bay his last time out, taking on Chris Tillman. Both these guys really in a groove early on to begin the season. Tillman has had good numbers over the course of his career against the Mariners. 6-0 and a 2.98 ERA against Seattle. Mariners have opened it up a bit, 4-0 with 1 out at the top of the 5th. And this was a short night for Ubaldo Jimenez, Mike.
Yeah, he really struggled with his command. 4 1/3, 5 hits, 4 runs, all of them earned. He's responsible for the 2 base runners that are out there, but the 4 walks have cost him 4 strikeouts. He threw 90 pitches, 50 of those for strikes. Left-hander Brian Mattis going to take over. 6 appearances for him. High ERA over 8. 4 1/3. He has 1 strikeout, 6 walks, so he can get wild too. Opponent's hitting .333 with a home run.
He inherits runners on the corners. Seager pops up the first pitch, foul. Giannis out of room for strike 1. This goes down as the shortest start of the season for Jimenez, the 4 1/3 innings. It's interesting that this is coming off of Sunday's game, Mike, where Hector Santiago became the first starting pitcher that lasted more than 7 innings against the Mariners. By and large, starters have not fared all that well against Mariners hitting so far this season.
Well, I think you go back to the way the lineup has been constructed and the job that Jerry Dipoto has done. A lot of these hitters, high on base guys, take their walks.
0-2. If you want to get really technical about it, in the 37 previous games entering tonight, Mariners have knocked out the opposing starter 16 times before he can finish 6 innings. I mean, it's been pretty impressive.
It has been. Mariners are 5th in walks.
This is clubbed, smashed, right field. Does it have enough? It is gone for a home run. 3-run blast off by Kyle Seager here inside Camden Yards. And the Mariners have opened it up big time here in the top of the 5th inning. 7-0 Mariners.
Kyle with 13 home runs against left-handed pitching, so half his home runs last year off of lefties. And on a cool evening, he barrels this up, hits it out to right center field, hit it probably about 380 feet. Just out of the reach of Rickert, the right fielder.
Edgar looks pleased. Base is clean for Lind.
And the theme continues for the Mariners on the road, averaging over 5 runs a game on the road.
One and one. Some Mariners and Seahawks fans in the house here tonight.
The opportunity to see a touchdown tonight.
You're right. 1-2 on Lynn. Wade Miley getting some nice run support. After Martin grounded out to begin this top of the 5th, every Mariner hitter has reached since. Each of the last 5, highlighted by Seager's 3-run smash. It's turned out to be an ugly line for Jimenez here tonight, who entered with an ERA just south of 5. Just foul, still 2-2. It was interesting having a conversation with Kyle earlier today, Mike. You would think, or it'd be possible to think, that there is this great temptation inside this ballpark for a left-handed hitter with right field less than 320 feet to the foul pole and right, and there could almost be a sense for a guy who doesn't play here very often, who's got good pull power like Seager certainly does from the left-hand side, to want to go up there and just yank home runs every time he's up. And Seager said that for him it's just the opposite, that he knows that as long as he gets a good clean swing, that this ballpark will help take care of everything else. He doesn't have to do anything else.
No, and he also knows that he doesn't have to cheat to the pitch that's in on the corner, because he can still miss it a little bit and hit it over that wall at 318.
Full count to Lynn. So Mattis has taken over. We mentioned how great this bullpen has been for the Orioles. Best bullpen in terms of ERA in the American League. And Mattis coughs up the 3-run blast and now has a full count to Lynn. Now walks him. 5th walk taken by a Mariner hitter tonight. And if this score holds 7-0 right now, Mariners, each of these numbers will go up a tick or two. You can see how the Mariners rank on the road among other teams in the American League. Tops in runs, of course, the best record in terms of winning percentage. ERA 2nd. Opposing average less than 220. It's been awfully impressive. There's a reason why the Mariners are 13-6 on the road. Not just the good restaurants, as you were alluding to earlier tonight, Mike. That might be part of it.
That might be part of it. The number that I like the most on there is them averaging over 5 runs a game offensively. And I think with their pitching, they're going to win a lot of ball games if they continue to do that.
1-1.
Speaking of restaurants, did you stay injury-free last night after watching you destroy all that crap? You did some work.
I wasn't alone. I had help.
It
We had the full team there.
Yeah, it was a good group.
You know, Rick and Kevin and Shannon, along with Blower Power. Blowers was the spotter, I would say. We're there for support.
It was impressive.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Well, it is prime crab season here in Baltimore, and we found ourselves off the plane, onto the bus, at the hotel, and right away in a cab. Who would have known? Led by Kevin Kremen.
I don't know if you noticed or not, but by the time you were finished, I was about as far away on the table because you were getting pretty aggressive with the hammer.
Opposite field lifts. Rickard running out of space, leaves his feet, and Rickard is able to hold on. That is a tremendous catch. Absolutely incredible.
Takes a double away from Iannetta. Does a number of things well on this. You can see him running hard right away. Times his jump perfectly. I think he thought that his spikes would catch into the padding of the wall. He ends up sliding off of it and landing on his back, but great concentration. That was actually in the heel of his glove. Good job holding on to it after he hit the wall.
Wow.
Looked like he turned his ankle a little bit too when he hit the ground.
You're right. And that snaps a string of 6 Mariners hitters in a row reaching, as Marte is the 9th batter of this Mariners 5th inning, which has been highlighted by Seager's 3-run shot out to right center. There have been times this season where the bottom 3rd or even the bottom 4 in the order have really done some nice work for the Mariners. As tonight, Marte looking to pick up the first hit for the bottom 3rd of the order, and has been the top half which has really done damage to both Jimenez and Mattis tonight. Smith has reached twice. Cano, a run scored, 2 hits and an RBI. Cruz has driven in 3. He's reached 3 times. Reaching for it on a skip to Machado the short way. 9 batters in the top of the 5th for the Mariners. They blow it wide open. Seager a 3-run homer. And that's what we were looking at last night, only the cooked version with a lot of Old Bay. We go to the bottom of the 5th. Mariners on top of the Orioles 7-0. Time for our Columbia Bank difference of the game, and Mike, it has been Wade Miley. He's been on a roll.
4 innings so far, has not given up a hit, only 2 walks. Hasn't had a strikeout yet, but that's okay. Keeping the ball on the ground, 69 pitches for him.
Faces Matt Wieters to lead off the Orioles' 5th. Mariners 5 runs on 4 hits in the top half of this inning. If Miley needed it, he certainly had plenty of time to recover in that top of the 5th inning. A lengthy one, especially with the pitching change mixed in. Although he has made pretty quick work of Orioles hitters over the last few frames. 2-2 on Wieters.
He's throwing his curveball a little bit more. That was a good curveball down out of the strike zone. Thought maybe we see a slider more than we have, but his changeup has been so good he's used that.
Shot out to center field. Martin having a race back, looking up, and it's off the wall. First hit tonight for an Orioles hitter. And that snaps a string of 10 in a row. Sat down by Wade Miley. A no-hitter through 4 for Miley here tonight.
And it's on the curveball, 78 miles an hour. Again, he wanted that pitch down out of the strike zone. He ended up leaving it just above the knees. And Wieters gives it a pretty good ride as it hits right in the middle of the wall. Good play by Martin to hold him to a single.
A long single. Deals a strike to Scope to get things going.
Scope rounding out to second his first time up. Cano playing towards the middle of the diamond.
And Miley split the arrow with that pitch. 0-2. Three pitches, all strikes. Miley's first punch out tonight. Now be sure to stick around after the game for Mariners postgame presented by Delta Airlines. We'll hear from that mascot service. Also Wade Miley. Sure, we will hear from Nelson Cruz, who has driven in 3. He's reached 3 times. Also scored a run tonight. Mariners getting a lot of contributions here this evening in game 1 against the Orioles. Reimold looks at strike 1. Old stomping grounds for Nelson. The opposite way, twisting to Seth Smith. Now number 2.
I think for Wade, because his command has been so good, once he was able to get through the first inning, some borderline pitches that he wasn't getting calls on, and now he's starting to get those calls. And I think as a pitcher, if you can consistently hit your spots, you'll start to open things up a little bit. You mentioned Jerry Davis, veteran umpire. He's giving up some pitches now. You can see on the EQ tracer just a bit off the plate, and he's starting to get those calls. So it's one of the things that I was told by Jamie Moyer. Jamie used to have to pitch off the plate his fastball at 84 miles an hour, the great changeup. And I asked Jamie, I said, well, if they're not going to give you that pitch down or that pitch off the outside corner, what do you have to do? And he says, I have to stay there. And eventually they'll come around my way.
Just be stubborn about it?
Just be stubborn about it. Because he said, if I pitch in the middle of the plate, I'm not going to be out there very long. And Jamie said, if you stay there, start hitting the edges a little bit more, start getting that call, you can start working off that edge a little bit more and have it work in your favor. But you have to be stubborn about it and realize what you can and can't do. And that's a great pitch. I'm just trying to get a little bit more. I'm a little bit too far, but 0-2. Smart pitch.
Martin charged it in. A shoulder high grab. Yanish is out to center field. And a runner stranded at first base. We are through 5. A gorgeous night from the Inner Harbor here in Baltimore. 7-0 Mariners. 7-0 the Mariners lead as Wade Miley has sat down 13 of the last 14 that he's faced. We take a look at the Mariners calendar, brought to you by Sleep Train. Mariners here in Baltimore for 3, and then a little interleague play off to Cincinnati to take on the Reds. The Mariners will go from facing the best bullpen in the American League to the worst bullpen in baseball. The Reds pen an ERA just south of 6.5. Reds really scuffling this year. First pitch strike to Martin. 2 runs in the first for the Mariners, 5 runs in the 5th as they chased Jimenez out of the game after 4 1/3. His shortest start on the season. This is 8th. As Matt is trying to give Buck Showalter an inning or 2.
Score the way it is right now, start of this series, might ask a little bit more than that.
Yeah, you're right. Two balls and 2 strikes to Martin, leading off the top of the 6th inning. Mattis was a former first-round draft pick and a former starter for the Orioles. He spent his entire career here in Baltimore. And at one point in his career, even when he transitioned to the bullpen, really was thought of, well, even before then in the minor leagues, as a pretty up-and-coming prospect. Interesting to see him pitching here in what has essentially become mop-up duty after Jimenez gave up a lot of runs, 6 of them in fact, although it was Mattis who gave up the 3-run homer to Seager. As this goes under Davis's glove, and Martin is aboard for the first time tonight. Well, this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Seattle Mariners. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent of the Seattle Mariners. That's going to go down as an error on Davis. So, Mike, for the best defensive team in baseball, their second error here tonight. The one earlier coming from Jimenez.
And I was hoping that they would give him a hit on that. He hit it hard. Davis ended up going down to the ground trying to make the play.
And they've changed it to a hit. Good. Now, did you know you had so much power, Mike?
I did not. But I know it really helps the attitude when you're Martin and you're trying to get a hit.
Machado to his right. Gets rid of it quickly on a skip to first in time to get Aoki.
We'll take a look at it again. Machado moving from third to shortstop with Hardy going on the disabled list. A good pick at first base by Davis. Everybody knows about him hitting the ball out of the ballpark, but pretty good glove work right there. When you're struggling and you're trying to make things happen, we talked about earlier, and you square one up, you want to get a base hit out of that, especially if it gets to the outfield grass. So Martin will feel better about the hit. Hopefully he start gaining some confidence and moving things forward.
2 outs, the base is empty. Seth Smith climbs in.
And as usual with Seth hitting, they have the shift on.
I saw the other day, Mike, that David Ortiz has been the most shifted player in baseball this year. At just 98% of the time, David Ortiz has been shifted on. And
what happened to the other 2%?
Apparently the game didn't call for it,
I guess.
You have to figure that Smith is right up there with Big Papi. I mean, you don't even, it's almost, we appreciate you informing us every time, Mike, but it's almost, it's more news breaking when there's not a shift.
I would agree with that. I've talked to Seth about it, and he told me that he's fully aware, knows exactly what it is and why they're doing it, and it doesn't seem to bother him.
Two and two. Smith has walked twice and he has scored twice. Both times driven in by Nelson Cruz. Now at this rate, the Mariners on their way to winning their 14th game on the road. 13-6 entering today. Still plenty of baseball left to play tonight, but a healthy 7-0 lead. Close pitch to make it a full count. Smith has had a full count now in 3 of his 4 plate appearances. As we see Cruz. Cano would be next. Up the middle, they had their shift on, of course, and it's into center field for a base hit. Smith reaching for the 3rd time.
And it's one of those things, Aaron, that I'm still trying to figure out. And that is, you have the shift on, you take a look at the tracer, where the pitch is and where they're set up, and they're set up away, and it gives him the opportunity to hit it back up the middle. Or maybe even hit it the other way where they have one defender on that side. So we see that quite a bit where they'll put the shift on, set their defense, and almost pitch away from it.
And, you know, the shift is certainly a thing at this point, but it's still in the scheme of baseball, still a new thing.
Oh yeah, I've talked to Tim Bogar about it, and that's exactly what he said. They're still compiling information and making adjustments as they go.
I'm always interested because it's a mixed bag when you talk to pitchers, whether they're starters or relievers. And some will say that they pay zero attention to the shift whatsoever. You were saying Smith pays no attention to the shift. Well, sometimes pitchers play the same card. I mean, it's the catcher who's the one spying the shift and seeing where everybody's lined up. Breaking ball is thumped into left center field. It drops in for a base hit. Smith making his way onto third base, getting waved in. Cano, what a night for Robbie. He drives in yet another run. It's 8-0 Mariners. Cano with his 3rd hit tonight.
2 extra base hits, a couple of doubles for him. He's hit the ball hard the other way tonight. Had a double down in the left field corner. And now this double out in the gap. "36 RBIs on the year with the 2 ribbies that he picked up tonight."
And you were mentioning it, Mike. I mean, you look at the spray chart just for tonight, which isn't much of a chart, but you get the point. Left field double for Cano, left center field, right field with the RBI single earlier. Been all over the place.
Yeah, I think that's for Robbie this year. The thing for me watching him hit is he's made a couple of adjustments. But because he's healthy, we saw in spring training, anything inside on the inside corner, he can turn on it and hit it with authority. Last year, he spent a lot of time picking up hits, but he had to fight that pitch off a lot.
You know what else, Mike? You look at Cano tonight, his 4 at-bats. We talk all the time about Mariners hitters, as you can see where Robbie stacks up in terms of RBIs. Cano has not wasted time tonight. He has gone after the 2nd pitch every time.
It's working.
He goes around 1-2. He has seen 8 pitches in 4 at-bats. He's got 3 hits, a couple of doubles, 2 ribbies, and he scored twice. He's locked in, is the point.
And in the 1 out is a line out to the left fielder.
Good point. Cruz behind of the count, 1-2 with 2 outs. Breaking ball is lofted into left field. Rival looking up, and it's gone. Another home run tonight for the Mariners. That's their 2nd. as Nelson Cruz has made it 10-0 in the top of the 6th inning.
5 RBIs in the game for Cruz. His 8th home run. And Robinson Cano has scored 3 times. Mariners an impressive 5 for 7 runners in scoring position. With some damage, a 3-run home run by Kyle Seager, and now this 2-run home run. And this is just a nothing breaking ball. Actually, it's a changeup up, middle of the plate.
One a night. You know, Mike, this goes back to a narrative that we've talked about from time to time, dating back to last season, when you look at the 3-headed monster. And we'll pick it up when we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. Another strong frame for the Mariners. We're through 5.5 innings. Nelson Cruz, Seager, Cano put it on a show. 10-0 Mariners. Ten runs, 10 hits. The Mariners clubbing the Orioles here tonight. Well, great news. Sound Transit's new Link Light rail stations on Capitol Hill and at the UW are now open, so plan your trip at soundtransit.org. Baltimore Light Rail, you can see there as the Mariners laying a whooping to the Orioles here tonight. Camden Yards in the distance as Miley faces Rickard to lead off the bottom of the 6th inning. Mike, it seemed like never at one point last season for the Mariners as Rickard shoots this high to right field. Smith having a drift back, and he's able to reach up and make the catch for round number 1. We never saw Seager, Cano, and Cruz all scalding hot
at the same time. Yeah, you're right. Nice running catch by Seth Smith and right. He's made a few of those this evening. They're pretty good when it does happen. I mean, but you're right. Obviously, last year with Cano not being healthy, that was difficult. Although we did swing the bat well in the second half. Nelson Cruz was terrific all year long,
for sure.
But I think that with the way that Robbie has gotten started and at the confidence that he's playing with right now, and for Kyle, he seems to improve every year. And Cruz is going to hit his 35+ home runs. Should be a lot of fun to watch him go, especially if the guys are getting on base, which they have been, meaning the top and the bottom of the lineup.
Well, that 3-man weave has driven in all 10 runs tonight.
A couple of homers, a couple of doubles.
It's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah.
2 balls and a strike to Machado, who has twice popped up to Cano. Pitch number 90 for Miley will have to wait. Time is called. Ball 4 to Machado. 1 out and 1 up. The Root Sports and Moving 92.5 are bringing you the first Mariners fireworks night of the season on Friday, May 27th. Enjoy a fireworks display synced with your favorite songs in Mariners history, including Hip Hop Hooray and Louie Louie. Visit mariners.com for tickets. Always a fun time at the ballpark with fireworks to follow. See the Twins on the next homestand. What a night for Nelson Cruz. Cano and Seager as well. Jones swings and just gets a piece.
Right on the follow through. Adam ended up catching a piece of Chris Iannetta with his bat. Chris, before we left on the road trip on the homestand, right at the end, was hit on the back of the hand. Same thing, a follow through. He did not come out of the game.
Cano tiptoeing around. Here comes Smith. Full head of steam, and he makes the catch for round number 2. Where'd he show up from?
And Robbie smiles about it. Look at Seth. He almost caught that on the infield dirt. Well, I guess Seth, he's made a running catch at the gap, one over by the line. He wanted to catch one on the infield. Covering a lot of ground today.
Seth is saying, Robbie, I'm just trying to up my UZR, man. Come on. Help a brother out.
That'll help.
The range on full display tonight. White lightning in right field. 2 outs. Machado at first after the walk.
Wade Miley was able to get Davis to ground out to Cano his last time up, and a couple of slow curveballs, and one that he hit on the ground was at 74 miles an hour. Missed with that first pitch curveball.
Another curve, socked into right field. Machado making the turn into third. Davis stands up at second base.
And this curveball at 73 miles an hour wasn't able to get away from him. I think the reason why he hit it hard is because he left it on the inner half of the plate. And he just dropped the barrel on it. You can see the Mariners had the shift on, but he lined it down the line.
No Stottlemyre Jr. hoping to see Miley go through 6 scoreless. He is knocking on the door of 100 pitches.
95 pitches, 61 strikes for Miley.
Now facing Trumbo.
Not many opportunities for the Orioles tonight. 0 for 1 runners in scoring position.
Popped up the opposite way. Who's going to get this one? Seth Smith. This is all his. Trumbo out to right field, and that'll end things as Miley has spun 6 scoreless. Seattle Mariners baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by Money Tree, proud to make a donation to Mariners Care for every Mariners win. And by Jack in the Box, taste the Baconlicious Sourdough Bacon Ranch Combo, only at Jack in the Box. Look down the concourse inside Camden Yards. Mariners knocking around 10 runs, 10 hits. Miley has stifled the Orioles for 0-2. And Vance Worley, the new pitcher up on the hill, taking over for Brian Mannix.
8 appearances, 2-0 record, 2.61 ERA, so he's pitched well for Baltimore. 20 strikeouts and 20 2/3, 6 walks. Opponent's hitting .263. He's given up a couple of home runs.
Lynn takes the first pitch for ball 1. It has been a while since Worley has pitched. Hasn't been up on the mound since he saw the Tigers here at home on Thursday. Worked 2 innings, 2 scoreless innings. It's a pretty fresh arm. And even though, as we were talking about earlier, Cano, Cruz, and Seager have been the ones to drive in all 10 runs, there have been Mariners littering the base paths all night. Somebody's got to get on to help those guys get their RBIs. Lynn has reached on a walk his last time up in the 5th.
Aoki with a base hit and scored a run. Seth Smith, watching him in the outfield.
It's been the glove work tonight, Mike.
Yeah, but he's been on base 3 times and has also scored all 3 times.
Yeah, but he made a catch on the infield dirt, so that's player of the game right there.
Have to argue with that.
Lynn got looking on a pitch well off the plate. Worley strikes out the first man that he sees as we take a look at our CenturyLink What's Next coming up. This is going to be a fantastic pitching matchup. Taijuan Walker versus Chris Tillman. Tillman, 5 straight quality starts entering tomorrow. He last worked on Friday, 7 scoreless. Meanwhile, Taijuan Walker, it was nothing but quality starts the first month of the season, looking for his first quality start here in the month of May. Inetta goes after the first pitch, and it finds Rickard's glove in right field. 2 outs.
The last time the Mariners scored 10 runs in this ballpark, you have to go all the way back to August of '07. And they did it 2 out of the 3 games.
Really? So you're saying we got something to look forward to tomorrow or the next day, maybe? Going outside for ball 1 to Marte. This is always something that you really have to emphasize when you see a team drop 10 runs and a chance certainly still for more here tonight. This is not as if the Mariners are going up against a weak pitching staff. This is, the rotation has scuffled, there's no question about it, for the Orioles this season, and Jimenez has been part of the problem, but the bullpen has been lights out overall. This has been the 3rd best pitching staff in terms of just simply ERA on the season in the American League. Buck Showalter has been buoyed by a very strong bullpen, has had some frustrations with the rotation, but you come to Camden Yards and you hang 10 runs with a chance for more against the first place Orioles. You're doing something right. Marte is out number 3. The side sat down in order. And as we go to the stretch, Mariners with the foot on the gas pedal, 10-0. If you had a Washington's Lottery mobile app, this break of the action would be the perfect time to check winning numbers played today. Mariners fans checking out Utah Street and enjoying right now a 10-0 Mariners lead as we work our way to the bottom of the 7th inning. Mariners got 2 runs early in the first. They have tacked on 5 in the 5th, a 3 spot into 3rd, or pardon me, in the 6th. A lot of crooked numbers here tonight for the Mariners. Good night tonight for Wade Miley.
Yeah, he really pitched well. I thought that his game plan was excellent. His ability to go out and make the pitches that he needed to make, really good. 6 innings, just 2 hits, did not give up a run, 3 walks, 1 strikeout, 97 pitches, 63 of those for strikes. After he was able to work out of that first inning, just in command of this game, Vidal Nuno will take over. 14 appearances. He's pitched well, a 1.69 ERA for him.
Facing the catcher, Wieters. Now Miley finishes the night retiring 16 of the final 19 hitters that he faced. At one point he sat down 10 in a row before Matt Wieters' single snapped that string. Little excuse me swing and a skimmer out to Marte. Good start for Nuno. 1 out. But on a night like this, Mike, where the offense just bashes like it has seemingly at will, especially in the later innings, it can be so easy to lose sight of the work that Miley did tonight.
Yeah, I thought that a little bit unusual to see the 3 walks. Typically, he's not going to walk guys. A couple of those walks.
With the shift on, there's Cano, perfect place.
Came in the first inning where I think he was being a little bit careful, and eventually the strike zone opened up for him because there were some borderline pitches he wasn't getting the call on, and eventually that changed.
You know, something else that is so impressive tonight from Miley. You go back to his last start against Tampa Bay. Right now the Rays, the 2nd best home run hitting team in the major leagues, trailing just the Baltimore Orioles. So back-to-back starts, Miley is facing the top 2 home run hitting clubs in the American League. Gave up 3 homers, solo shots, to Tampa Bay. Now he's coming here to Camden Yards in a home run friendly ballpark with a slugging team of the Orioles, and he's able to keep the ball down by and large, keep the ball in the ballpark the entire night. When his track record here, which has only been 2 starts a season ago, would suggest that he has had a hard time doing that.
He was very good at it. I thought he pitched inside just enough. I really liked his changeup tonight.
And last April with the Red Sox, Miley 6 earned, over 2 1/3. That was it. He did not last 3 innings. Last June, 5 earned for Miley here at Camden Yards, over 4 innings. Much different Wade Miley here tonight.
Yeah, I thought he was really good tonight, and again, I thought he was stubborn enough, throwing his pitches at the bottom of the strike zone and on the edges, to where he was eventually getting the call as Nuno will get the strikeout and end the inning.
A 1-2-3, very quick. Bottom of the 7th. We are off to the 8th. Mariners in command, 10-0. 0-0 as we go to the top of the 8th. Mariners RBIs matter both on and off the field. For every Mariners RBI during the 2016 season, PACCAR makes a donation to the Page Ahead Children's Literacy Program. The Mariners thank PACCAR for their support in our community. New catcher Caleb Joseph taking over for Matt Wieters. This is Martin leading off the Mariners 8th.
Martin 1 for 3 tonight. Had a base hit for right field his last time up.
Soft pop up. Giannis, 2 hands, holds on and takes a tumble. What a catch. Martin robbed of an at-bat.
He's aware of the wall, and they do have the padding on the bricks over there. Helped a little bit. Oh, looks like a fan helps him out also as he was tumbling into the stands.
He pulls the first pitch foul. Got it squared up at strike 1. You know, Mike, we'd have to really go third level, as we like to say, with some deep analysis in terms of what the Mariners have been able to do this year against starting pitchers and the effect that it has had on those starters' bullpens. Because if you think about the Mariners' success of driving out starting pitchers before the end of the 6th inning. Right up the elevator shaft this time for Aoki. Joseph just off the bench. Now number 2. Now the Mariners have had, let's see, just 1 4-game series this year. The set in Houston. It would take even more of an effect in a 4-game series, but even in a 3-game series like this, by the end of that series, if you're knocking the starter out before the 6th inning each of the first 2 games, let's say, and maybe that opposing team is coming off a series where their starters had a hard time going deep, and there starts to be a compounding effect there. I mean, that is setting yourself up for some pretty good baseball when you can start wearing down a bullpen by the end of a 3-game series.
And as you mentioned, the Mariners have done that quite a bit. If you go and look, they just lost their first series in a month. But you go back in all those series they were winning, how many times they came out and won the first game of that series, knocked the starter out, got into the bullpen, and typically how many times they'll come back and win that 3rd game to win the series.
This has some hang time.
So I think there is an effect to it.
Reimold's got just enough space. And Smith is down number 3. Mariners sat down in order for the 2nd straight inning. We go to the bottom of the 8th. Mariners leading 10-0. Fish Casino, big catch, and it is Kyle Seager squaring this one up, Mike.
For Kyle, his 8th home run on the year, a 3-run home run for Kyle. Came back in the 5th inning. He has been a hot hitter, and it's continued here at Camden Yards.
First pitch swinging, and Giannis pulls it foul.
Nuno stays on. And a quick bottom of the 7th, the 1-2-3. As you look at Sean O'Malley taking over Robinson Cano at second base.
Off the hands. We pop up into center field, and it's snatched there by Martin. And just enough hang time.
And he covers a lot of ground.
Well, almost as much as Seth Smith.
Seth has been busy tonight. You take a look at Sean O'Malley. Good communication. Kyle with 13 home runs off of left-handed pitching last year, already 4 this year.
Oh, 2. Now the Mariners entered tonight tied with the Rangers for the top spot in the division. Texas does not play until later tonight. They are on the West Coast taking on the A's. Marte, a bobble, recovers, and in time for round number 2.
No panic at all on that.
Nice work by Cattell. Take another look.
Take a look as he goes to field. It comes up on him a little bit off the heel of his glove. Fortunately, it stayed right next to him, was able to barehand it and throw him out.
Almost by design. Very smooth. Able to stay with it. Ball 1 to Machado. Miley tonight, 6 scoreless, only 2 hits. High the opposite way. O'Malley chasing after it. It'll be his. Nuno out of the bullpen, 6 up, 6 down very quickly. We're through 8 innings, 10-0 Mariners. A couple of big home runs. Cruz a 2-run shot, Seager a 3-run blast, and Mike, the heart of the order tonight for the Mariners have been very busy.
Dominant tonight. Look at the night. Robinson Cano hitting third in the order. A couple of doubles, a base hit, 2 RBIs, scored 2 runs. Nelson Cruz with 5 RBIs, including his 8th home run of the year. And Kyle Seager also his 8th home run. Sean O'Malley came on for defense for Cano, and now he's getting a chance to hit. And looking at that, Aaron, I mentioned earlier on that I had Cano as my pick to click.
Right.
3 for 4, 2 doubles, 2 RBIs, 3 runs scored tonight. And I doubt that he's going to be the MVP of the game. It's because of the night that Cruz had 3 for 3, 5 RBIs, and scored a couple of runs.
O'Malley down on strikes. And the outfield has changed around. Hyun-Soo Kim is in left field off the bench. Rickard, meanwhile, moves from right to center. And Reimold has moved from left to right. So shuffling things around. Pedro Alvarez, the former first-round draft pick out of Vanderbilt, the longtime Pirate, is off the bench at third. Here is Goody batting for Nelson Cruz. Looks at strike 1. Now, Giannis has moved from third base, where he had a spectacular catch not long ago, to short. And Flaherty, Ryan Flaherty, off the bench at first base for Davis. So this one looking like a spring training game right now.
Franklin's done a good job pinch hitting. 3 for 7, a couple of RBIs for him.
One and 2. A look at Ubaldo Jimenez, tonight's starter for the Orioles. His shortest start of the year, just 4 1/3. And he got tagged to this one tonight. A couple of inherited runners scoring against his line. Well, you really had a sense just by seeing Jimenez on paper that the Mariners would have a chance to fare very well against him. The command issues that he's had this season, coupled with his mighty struggles against left-handed bats, and those both played out to be true.
Aaron, is one of the things that you were talking about at the start of this game, and that is what you were saying, Jimenez walking too many people, the Mariners willing to take their walks, fouling off a lot of tough pitches, some long at bats. The key to it all is, were they going to be able to take advantage of the free passes that he was going to give him tonight? They certainly did that.
6 runs, 5 hits, 4 walks over 4 1/3 for Jimenez. Overall tonight, the Mariners have drawn 5 walks while striking out 6 times.
And that being said, they also ended up hitting a couple of home runs off of the guys out of the bullpen. Mattis giving up 2 home runs. Kyle hitting one of them. Nelson Cruz the other.
The opposite way, dunks in there for a base hit. Out of the line for Seager tonight. 3rd time he's reached his 2nd hit. A walk, a homer, now a single.
90 miles an hour, jams him. He'll pick up the base hit and take it. 2 at night for Kyle.
And Mike, you bring up the home runs. Those 2 homers have accounted for half of the run production tonight for the Mariners. And you can't look too incredibly deep into one game, but I think tonight's game in some ways kind of represents what Jerry Dipoto was hoping to do for the Mariners this season. When you think about getting on base, and the byproduct of that, one of the byproducts, is you have the opportunity to turn solo home runs into multiple run homers. We've seen a 3-run shot, we've seen a 2-run homer. So instead of a possibility of a couple of solo homers, meaning 2 runs, we've seen 5 runs on those 2 swings instead.
Right, and I think you just have to look directly at the guys that did all the damage tonight and look at last year. Nelson Cruz, 40+ homers. Kyle Seager with 26. Robinson Cano with 21, and nobody drove in 100.
Now that says a lot. Up the middle. Giannis can't get there. It's into center field. Seager into second base. Lynn aboard with the hit.
Good to see Adam Lynn pick up a base hit. And now you switch it around and you get the guys, and the changes have basically been at the top and the bottom of the lineup. and you have Robinson Cano leading the American League in RBIs.
What a difference being healthy and having men on base when you're at the plate can make.
And it doesn't hurt that the Mariners are 5 for 7 with runners in scoring position tonight.
Very impressive. Ball 1 to Iannetta.
And another game where they double-digit in hits.
10 runs on a dozen hits. Reimold, who is now taken over in right field. Casual catch for round number 3. The Mariners strand 2. We go to the bottom of the 9th inning. Is it fair to say last chance for the Orioles? Steve Johnson, a former Oriole, coming on to pitch for the Mariners. Their way to the bottom of the 9th inning. Mariners holding a very healthy 10-0 lead as the Orioles are down their final 3 outs, and you can see here 22 shutouts in Mariners franchise history when scoring double-digit runs. The last time it happened, game 162, the final game of the season back in 2012. It's been a while. Steve Johnson, our new pitcher, former Baltimore Oriole, up on the mound.
Only 4 appearances on the year, a 1.80 ERA in 5 innings. He has 4 strikeouts, 4 walks. Opponents hitting 118. Fastball right around 90 miles an hour. Slow curveball. You'll see a slow curveball. It can be 62 miles an hour at times.
And his dad, Dave Johnson, a former major league pitcher, spent the late 80s, early 90s here in Baltimore. Now part of the broadcast crew, pregame and postgame on television and radio, depending on the day, for the Orioles. Watching his son pitch. Here is Kim batting for Jones.
Not sure if there's anything that's any more rare than this. Showing Steve's dad gets his first win with Baltimore Orioles. 23 years later, on the exact same date, Steve gets his first win with the Baltimore Orioles. 23 years
to the day?
To the day. How about that?
Flower power. You were praying that Johnson came into this game tonight, weren't you?
I was confident he would eventually get in the game sometime in this series.
O'Malley, a low throw.
Yeah, sinker.
Tampa aboard with an error.
Take a look at Sean. Backhanded play, rushed the throw a little bit, and you can see the sink on it, and I'm not able to pick it up.
brings in Pedro Alvarez, his first year in Baltimore. Mike, you were talking about Steve's curveball and the slow velocity, low 60s that we've seen. I'm talking with him about that the other day. He said that it is a slow curveball, but normally it's faster than what we have seen by a few miles per hour. But he was mentioning how he's had a hard time getting the proper grip on the baseballs here in the majors compared to what they throw, for example, to the PCL.
Well, we've seen it at 62, so maybe he's figuring out because that curveball was 65 miles an hour.
So blowing some gas is what you're saying.
Oh.
Another curve. Tough play there. Lynn comes up with it. Marte back to first, not in time.
This will be a 3-6 fielder's choice. Is Adam on the line? Good pick. Get the lead runner out.
Hey, don't you have to actually touch the base?
Now the home plate umpire Jerry Davis is looking inside the Orioles dugout.
He's waiting on Buck Showalter.
And this could be the neighborhood play.
Which is surprising because they really didn't have a chance to turn the double play, and now they're going to have him take a look at it. Well, take a look at it. Here's the play by Adam Lynn, throwing plenty of time. And it looks as if Marte took his foot off the bag a little bit early. I'm guessing they're going to overturn it.
This time last year, different
no problem.
story.
Yeah, no problem at all, but that's been the difference. We've seen it a number of times this year. And so a couple of mistakes by the Mariners here in the 9th inning. Nothing wrong with the slide at all. Clean slide. Let's take another look.
It would change things to have 2 on with nobody out versus 1 out and a man at first base. Long night for Buck Showalter. Now, for as obvious as this seemed at first glance, this has taken a long time.
Well, then it must not be as obvious. Trumbo waiting to hit.
Meanwhile, Johnson trying to stay warm on a cool night.
And really, for Johnson, 7 pitches, he should have 2 outs in the inning.
You're right.
A throwing error and then possibly this mistake at second, so we'll see.
Has to be inconclusive to overturn this.
Joseph waiting on deck. Came into the game for Matt Wieters, who started behind the plate.
And here we go. He is out. Buck not pleased. I mean, it might get down to as nitty-gritty as a spike scraping the bag. And in New York, they have the ability to zoom in, blow it up, and take an even closer look than what we can see here.
More importantly, because he was called out originally, even if they're not sure and they can't quite see, then they can't overturn the call.
1 out, 1 on for Trumbo, who looks at a strike. Low breaking ball is yanked foul to the only group of fans down the left field line. 0-2. Good thing they stuck around. Must have someplace to go. Still nothing at 2. Oh boy, watch out. Late hop. Take it easy. Ran out of steam. It's funny to think, Mike, we made mention on a couple of occasions early in this game that the Orioles certainly appear to be the most complete team the Mariners have faced this year, and yet tonight it has been the Mariners who have played the complete game against the Orioles.
And you're right, and again, it's taking advantage of some walks early in the game. Wade Miley doing his job. Getting out of the first inning was really important, and he was able to do that without giving up a run. Give a chance for the offense, who had already scored 2 runs in the first, to add on.
Seager, a 3-run home run tonight. Reached base 3 times. Soft fly ball. Smith able to settle underneath it for round number 2. No, Mike, I think you're spot on with that first inning for Miley. Not only does he walk the first man that he sees here tonight, ends up throwing 30 pitches, and after an inning like that, you don't necessarily know which direction is going to be next for a starting pitcher. Will there be another inning of, say, 15 to 20 pitches, and now by the time you've recorded your first 6 outs, you're 50 pitches deep into the game? Well, that was huge for Miley to then throw 7 pitches to retire the side in order in the second, and then off and running.
And then it was over after that. He had it locked in and made it look easy.
1 ball and 1 strike to Caleb Joseph, batting for Matt Wieters. Took over for the Orioles catcher in the late innings. Tomorrow we will see Taijuan Walker versus Chris Tillman. We'll hit the airwaves at 3:30 Pacific time. What a pitching matchup that'll be. Take a look at our CenturyLink What's Next. You can see the ERA hovering around 2.5 on both sides. A lot of strikeouts from both these starting pitchers. We will see tomorrow night.
Steve Johnson throwing a lot of strikes. 17 pitches, 14 strikes for him.
Must have been the 24 crabs that he and his family said that they ate last night.
Good for them.
Said they went to town. He's living at home for this road trip.
Slow curveball again at 68. So you're right, Aaron. The velocity going up on the curve.
Buckle up. Steve said he's going to have a lot of family and friends in this series, as you can imagine, coming back home. Johnson is the case where he's not just a former Oriole coming back to pitch for the team that drafted him. He actually was born in Baltimore, went to high school out here. They mentioned his father, Dave, pitched for the Orioles for a number of seasons, 89 to 91. So this is home, not just from a baseball sense, as he burns one past Joseph. And that is the ball game. What a win tonight for the Mariners, and what a way to start off this road trip.
Well, after losing the final 3 at home, getting the day off probably helped these guys, because they came out and really swung the bats. But more importantly, another good outing. That's 4 good outings in a row for Miley, as he goes 6 innings, does not give up a run, only 2 hits tonight. So hopefully hot bats will continue.
This one had a little bit of everything for the Mariners. What a win. 10-0 the final score here from Camden Yards. Mariners postgame presented by Delta Airlines. It starts right now with Jen and Bill.